ladies and gentlemen, that must be Kevin Peterson. Wow. The one and only Family Matters. We do this every Tuesday or Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Man, it's that kind of week. But anyway, go creep over. I do this all the time. He loves it. He doesn't know I'm doing it, but I do it all the time. Go over to Instagram, Kevin W. Peterson. He's got incredible content there. ChronicHope.us got all kinds of free resources. You can reach Kevin directly there. And probably the hidden gem on all of Facebook is the Chronic Hope Family Facebook group. So reach out to us. Yeah. If you want to get involved with that.
Yeah.
Kevin, how's it going in Family Land?
Family Land is it's okay. You know, it's a little quiet. Summer tends to be not so much quiet. We don't get like a break, but it just tends to be a little less nutty, you know. And so yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Things are kind of chilling and
less nutty.
You know, and I think people are probably taking a little bit of time off, taking a breath, trying to figure out, you know, what, you know, how they can prepare for the school year.
Well, the report cards and everything probably already in, and so there's all kinds of stories being told, and who knows. But this is why we're here. We answer every Wednesday night Family Matters. Yep. Kevin Peterson's, we get the questions. We just try to drill them, try to knock him off his perch. We haven't been able to do it yet, but feel free, if you're watching replay or live, type in the question and we will get to it. Let's get right into it.
Yeah.
Our son went into treatment after we did an intervention on him. My question is, how do we deal with the drama he left behind? Money owed to people, filthy living spaces, etc. No, all too often.
Yeah, great question. Fantastic question. And here's the answer. You don't. It's not your problem. and you know, I know you were looking for something a little more complicated and long-term and windy. And the answer to that one is it ain't your problem. Now, if you have co-signed for a car or a lease or an apartment, or you're on the hook for that stuff, I mean, if you can, pay it off and then present him with a tab, you know, but no more. I mean, if that's his business and his problem, and you know, that's his business and his problem. You know, now, I mean, I have a person right now that's in treatment, and you know, the mom's like, you know, I got to get him out of his. So the mom cleaned out the apartment, and you know, I was like, that's fine. You know, I get that's a kindness on your heart, but you know, you don't got to do that. You know, this is his situation. He's an adult. He needs to learn how to handle his business. The longer you continue to solve their problems for them, the longer they're going to behave like a child, because they're not being required to behave like an adult, if that makes any sense.
Well, they got to go back to some kind of quote unquote mess. I mean, if you're coming out of treatment and everything's cleared out, I mean, we've lost the consequence. I know for me, like the reality of some of my, let's just call it so-called life. I mean, I had to make some amends financially. I mean, I had to do all number of things. And if everything was all paved, I'm not sure I would have learned or, you know, grown through that whole process. So,
yeah,
you're saying leave it alone. Obviously, sometimes there's kids involved with child payments and stuff like that. I mean, there's always exceptions to the rules, but for the most part, you're saying kind of just leave it, let them kind of figure it out on their own.
Learn how to solve your own problems.
Imagine that. They can't take care of everything.
Well, you know, you can try. You know, I mean, you can try, but the longer you continue to solve their problems, you know, the longer they're going to continue to behave like a child. So
amazing how that happens. 6 months ago, I left my husband due to his using. It was a severely codependent relationship and a long time coming. Since being on my own, I'm struggling with feeling fulfilled, happy, and content. So you kind of have a codependent kind of left with herself. Let's just say that.
Yeah, no, good. First of all, good for you for leaving your husband, and good for you for taking care of yourself, stepping up, and putting your needs first. And that is fantastic. And you need to do the same thing you would hope your husband would do. You need to get into recovery, because all those things you're talking about are exactly what happens when someone goes cold turkey from their thing. For you, it's codependency, but doesn't treat it, right? So again, good for you. I think you're amazing. I'm totally proud of you. This is absolutely fantastic. But let's get to the next step, and let's get some help for you. And that help can come in the form of therapy, a good community, some 12-step groups, maybe faith-based if that's your thing. Go to the gym, start doing things to get engaged with other people, and specifically other people that are fighting the same battle. And you will find an amazing thing that happens is that you'll start to develop this sense of community, and that community will get you through this. But I also have to tell you that I'm going to sound a little bit like a broken record. You definitely need therapy. At the very least, I want you to get some therapy. So.
Well, I mean, codependency, I mean, here you have it. I mean, it's a question. I'm glad we got it. I mean, just it's not the drugs and alcohol sometimes. I mean, like, you may love an addict, but the codependency is a real issue that needs to be dealt with.
Yep. Sure does. Yeah. And it's literally no different than dealing with addiction or alcoholism or whatever. It's the same thing. You have to treat it the same. You have to be willing to make that change in your life. And if that's going to be the best thing that happens to this person.
You said therapy. Is there something specific you asked or looking for a therapist of? Is it codependency? What's she looking for?
Yeah, I would like codependency, but I got to tell you, I also think some trauma therapy. I think that's in order. I think finding someone that understands grief and loss, trauma. So yeah, she had lost a relationship, and there's grief and loss, and then there's trauma behind that. So not just a regular let's talk about it person, but someone that's skilled and trained in trauma work that's going to help you recover from the situation and learn from it so that you don't repeat it.
Amen. Amen. As a mother, you want to heal and love your kids, but realize that we are helpless when it comes to our daughter's addiction. I understand the setting boundaries. How can I, as her mother, support her?
That's a great question, Mom, and I'm proud of you for figuring things and asking. Here's the deal. The best thing you can do for your daughter is get into your own recovery. The best thing you can do is what we just talked about with the woman that left her husband. Start seeing a therapist and talking about the same things: trauma, grief, loss. Having a child that has struggles with addiction is traumatic, and it's a grief and loss situation because you're grieving the loss of what you thought was going to happen. It was going to be this hunky-dory, white picket fence, family situation. And it's not. And that's brutal. It's a brutal awakening to realize that you have a kid that, is putting themselves in harm's way and in danger on a regular basis. So get help for you. And that's how you solidify those boundaries, is by taking care of you. Get a good therapist. Get a good support group. Again, if that could be faith-based, it could be 12-step based, it could be therapeutically based. There's lots of different places to go. Here's the one thing I would tell you. Make sure those programs that you would involve yourself in are focused on the solution, not on the problem. Too many families I talk to are like, oh, I went to a meeting and it was terrible. All they did was tell these drama stories about how horrible everything is. I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't go to that either. That sounds horrible. Quick self-plug for this mom. I would also tell you to read my book, read Chronic Hope, Families in Addiction. I think there's a lot of great information in there about how you can address your issues. Only a third of that book is about the addict. The other 2/3 are about the family and how they can take care of themselves and how to work together as a family. So I think that would be a good idea.
You just stole the ending. 2/3 of it is not anything to do with the addict.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
How do you know when someone has reached their bottom? My brother continues to refuse any.
Uh-oh.
Yet continues to go deeper and deeper in addiction. Is death the bottom for some?
Well, yes. The answer is yes, and. So if this is one of those situations where, okay, I get it that your brother refuses help, but now it's time to talk to Jay. Now it's time to go to the intervention process. And then behind that intervention has to be super strict boundaries on your part where you're like, hey, you're trying to kill yourself and I'm not playing. I'm not going to participate in this process until you clean up your act and stop trying to kill yourself with drugs and alcohol. I'm going to put a big boundary up. Now, and if any point in time you want help and you're willing to take the help, let's go. I'm in. But I am not going to sit here and have you continue to ride this roller coaster on my dime. And an emotional dime, physical dime, whatever, it doesn't matter. But I'm not going to continue to have you ruin my life with your crap. So let's get going here. I'm in. I want to help. And if he doesn't want the help, that's cool. You're an adult. I'll respect your choices as an adult. But my choice is that I'm not gonna hang around and watch this happen. But I would definitely talk about an intervention.
So this is a situation where you're drawing healthy boundaries where it's like, don't call me unless you want help, or is what's the situation on kind of communication?
Yeah, I would say, he can call you, but the conversation's always going to be the same. Are you ready to start talking about getting help? Are you ready to talk about treatment? We're not talking about money. We're not talking about your day. No. You need help. Let's get you help. You have to be kind of a broken record, but that's the reality of the situation is that he's going to die. You just said, is death a reality? Yeah, it is a reality. Let's avoid that reality, and then all the arguments are going to come for, the treatment, the interventions don't work. People only get sober when they want to. That's all crap. Treatment works, interventions work, and people get sober when they're faced with their reality. So part of his getting sober or maybe hitting bottom is hearing from his family, that's it, we're done, peace. Good luck. We've tried and we're checking out. And when you're ready, let us know. But until then, sayonara.
Amen.
Sorry. I mean, it's brutal, but he's already heading there anyway. You have nothing to lose, So call his bluff.
Alrighty. Our daughter states that she does not want to come to family functions because she does not want to walk into an intervention. Do people usually know an intervention is going to happen? And this coming from a family member is, to me, this sounds like someone that's quietly and subconsciously reaching out for help, but the family is kind of, they just want to have their daughter back, but this addiction, what do you got for this family?
Oh my goodness gracious. That is, God bless you is what I got for that family. Here's my thought on this one. The fact that she knows that this is a possibility tells me that she needs help. Okay. And people that don't struggle with drugs or alcohol or a process addiction don't worry about going to the barbecue. They're not worried about it. It's not a concern of theirs. Let me tell you, my sister was never worried about having an intervention put upon her at a family event. So if she's at that state, tonight's theme seems to be, we're not if somebody's got a problem, is that they have a problem, and what do we do when it's gotten over the line? Great questions. So the answer I would say really is that, sit down and talk to her and just say, hey, it seems like you're avoiding us because you're afraid something's going to happen. Let's talk about that. Why are you afraid of that? That's the lead into the conversation. And maybe you have a family therapist. Maybe you have a family addiction coach. Maybe you have somebody that's versed in this situation to be part of that conversation and say, well, okay, well, let's, do you feel like you're struggling with drugs and alcohol? Let's get some help, and let's go down that path. And so that's how I would look at it. Now you're an interventionist. And so there's a certain, you have more of the skill set of, how do you deal with someone that, thinks they're looking around the corner,
Yeah. I think this is more of a family issue. I think everyone that has done, we've intervened on has always said, like, I knew it was coming. I mean, And we're driving to, flying, driving to treatment. I said, did you know it was coming? They said, well, I knew it was only a matter of time. I mean, no one ever seems to be shocked when they walk in the room and their family is there. It's like, they know what's going on. I mean, so like you said it, I mean, the exact same quote I would use. It's like, you know when to mow your grass. I mean, if you're worried about, your family doing an intervention, to me, that's someone that is quietly doesn't want to just come out and say, I need help. Will you send me, they're planting the seeds. And I did it myself in active addiction when I really truly wanted help, but I just did, I was hoping my family took me, and so I think this is more of a family issue. And so like, I don't even think an intervention is needed. I would much rather have the family get the guidance, and we could easily do that as an interventionist. But I mean, I think what you said with having a family coach or a family therapist, I think that's all it's going to take. I think it's a woman. I don't think this woman is going to put up much of a fight. I think she really does want help. So that's just my experience.
Yeah. She just needs someone professional to lead the conversation so it doesn't turn into a rock throwing contest or shaming and belittling and that kind of concept. You just need someone to be like, hey, so the fact that you're even afraid to come to the cookout, tells us a lot,
Just seems I think the family needs some guidance, but every week there seems to be a theme. You're dead on, and this week seems to be that kind of, we have an issue. Subconsciously, they're reaching out for help. How do we do this? That we had one that's went to treatment already. What do you do with the aftermath? So that seems to be the theme every week. I think we have a theme. So it's interesting how that happens.
Yeah, well, people I think are probably dealing with certain stuff, and they just kind of that would seem to be the reason to me. But I get it. I'm happy to help. I love the questions are awesome. I love these questions. They're so good. I mean, professionally, I'm like, this is great. And personally, I'm like, oh, I totally remember how that felt. I was like, oh God, now what? I had a buddy that had his wife put on his 40th birthday party, and it was a surprise party. And he walked into the room and saw everybody, and he panicked because he was like, is this another intervention? I'm so AA. What's going on? And they're like, surprise, happy birthday. He's like, oh, okay, cool.
Now that is good. I haven't heard that, but yeah. Well, anyway, keep the questions coming. We're doing this every Wednesday night. Next week, I think we're going to take the July 4th week off. I'm going to go kind of unplug Kevin, I'm sure, because I don't think Kevin ever unplugs. He's just always at it. But we'll take a week off, and we'll be back in 2 weeks. But keep the questions coming. If there's 15, 20 questions when we come back, I mean, we will get to all 15, 20 in 2 weeks. So don't think that you're overwhelming. If you already heard the question asked, just, sometimes it's therapy, just typing in the question and we'll get to it. So even if it's redundant, type in the question. We'll get to it every Wednesday night. Kevin, always a pleasure.
My brother, have a great holiday. Have fun in Wisconsin, and enjoy your family. Like you said, completely mess with your nephews. Yeah.
Miracles of recovery. This is what happens. So you get on the other side, and now you get to be a terror in a good way to your nephews and spoil them rotten, and then just hand them back to the parents and be like, all right, I'm back. Jumping on a plane. Good luck. So that's cool. What I'm doing. I'm my own tornado.
Yeah.
All right, I'll see you.
All right, brother. Talk to you.